بسم الله الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Begin by praising Allah, the Most High, the Most Exalted, our King, His Majesty, the most honorable, the most noble, the most merciful. We testify to His oneness and His greatness, and we testify to the prophethood of His most beloved Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib, our great leader and mentor, the one that we will inshallah ta'ala pursue in this life and meet in the next life. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow us to be of those that live in His legacy and footsteps until the end of time. The story of Palestine is a story that begins when the creator of the universe decided that the second place that humanity would be privileged and honored to serve Him and worship Him and connect to Him would be in the great land and the great place of Palestine, in the great house called Al-Aqsa. And from that time, humanity has been descending upon that place to connect to their one and only creator. And it wasn't until the great man named Moses, alayhi salam, peace and blessings be upon him, he was instructed to take his people out of the slavery and bondage of Egypt and Pharaoh. And they were honored, and they were given the honor and the ability and the opportunity to enter into the land of Palestine. And when Moses freed his people and went to the land of Palestine, Allah Azza wa Jal taught the people from Moses' generation that they were not deserving of that victory of entering Palestine. And so Allah gave them a very weird way of punishing them. He caused them to be lost for 40 years. Because for 40 years, Moses and Harun would raise a generation that would be worthy of the opportunity of entering Palestine and freeing Palestine. Hundreds and hundreds of years later, Muhammad ﷺ would come, the last man with the last message from God. And for 23 years, he would build and work on raising a generation that would one day dream of entering and freeing the land of Palestine. And when they got there, when they got to the end of Muhammad ﷺ's life, he, like Moses, died without entering it. But both of them raised a generation, trained a generation, built a generation that was worthy of a free Palestine. Umar, the student of Muhammad ﷺ, would enter and bring freedom to Palestine. Umar, who the Prophet ﷺ raised, and he said, if there was a prophet after me, it would be Umar, because he resembled Musa. And today, my brothers and sisters, we want to talk about a generation that will today be built and raised to bring freedom to Palestine again. Because the freedom of Palestine, the future of Palestine, it's without a doubt will be free. But the question will be, what do we as a young Muslim American generation, what is our role? Because both great men, Moses and Muhammad, and the people that came after them, they had characteristics. A generation that grew up strongly connected to God. A generation that grew up living to connect to their Lord and living for the next life. A generation of high ethics and morals and values that was going to bring justice and liberty to the lands of the world. That was that generation. So for us today, as a young generation growing up in this country, we have the greatest opportunity to free the land of Palestine today. Young Muslim men and women in the United States of America are the generation that will bring freedom to Palestine if. There's always an if. You guys can clap at the end. The if is, we understand that we live up to that responsibility, that we understand that the love for Palestine, the obsession with bringing freedom to the lands of Palestine are just as much as if somebody were to snatch and confiscate my iPhone X. How much frustration would I have within me? How frustrated would I be if somebody stepped on my Yeezys or snatched my Michael Kors bag, we would be frustrated and angry. Imagine the heart surgery of the middle of the Muslim ummah being taken out of its body. Imagine how frustrated and how angry we should be that we treat those things that are taken away from us just like we treat the sacred land of Palestine being ripped out of our hands. That is the generation that will bring freedom to the lands of Palestine. A generation that is uncompromised. A generation that is unwavering. A generation that understands that its moral integrity will bring the rise of a new time. Victory, my brothers and sisters, freedom of Palestine is not we're not waiting for one person or one event or one moment or one catastrophe. Victory is never a one-time thing. It is a process. It is a journey. It is a struggle. It is a struggle that every single young man and woman, every believer that Allah, as Allah tells us, from Malaysia to Indonesia, from India to Pakistan, from Somalia to Sudan, from New York to California, every believer is responsible for the freedom of Palestine. And so my young men and young women, you are the generation with the greatest opportunity. Young men in this country have the greatest opportunity to shift the narrative, to take the onus. And you know what? We will be slandered and we will be attacked and we will be ridiculed and names will be posted on websites and on news feeds and on television stations, and we will not compromise. Because Palestine will be free. And all young people have to ask, is, will I play a role? Will I be a part of the movement on social media, organizing in my community, organizing in my centers, building bridges, building networks, building relationships? Will I be a part of the movement that brings the freedom? Or will I be watching on the sideline? That is the choice that we all make every single day. And I pray that Allah uses us to bring justice and freedom to the lands and the people of Palestine so that we can drink its free water and smell its free air and bask in the sunlight of its freedom. I ask Allah to allow us to meet and be those that build that day. Wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa jazakumullah khair.